Now, Iron Man has always had a little edge to him, but he obviously has never been what you would classify as evil. Well, that is until the Marvel Axis event, where some events happened where it led up to the villains and heroes switching morals, turning the good guys bad and the bad guys good. So turning Iron Man from a hero to a villain, but not a villain, say, like the Joker, who would go and blow up a hospital because he thinks it's funny. No, it turned Iron Man into a unethical CEO type of villain, who will do anything in his way to get more power and money, and even tangles with She-Hulk, Daredevil, and the entirety of San Francisco. Let's get into it. The story picks up with Iron Man in his Mark 42 armor after taking his talents and moving from New York but to San Francisco. And he's been pretty busy as he has introduced and created something called the Extremis 3.0, a techno virus designed to transform you into the very best version of yourself physically, all controlled through an app, freely gifted to anyone with a cell phone, but only in San Francisco. And obviously you can guess the type of fallout that would have, with people praising Stark with this almost magic-like ability to change your very physical description on a whim into the perfect version of yourself. Moving over, we see Stark is still being a normal hero, trying to clean up the streets of San Francisco as he gets a distress call from She-Hulk, who is fighting Teen Abomination, who is, as you would suspect from the name, a teen or younger version of Abomination. And after talking, he gets a pretty good strike on Iron Man, literally taking his head off. But as it turns out, Tony himself isn't in the armor, which even surprises the Teen Abomination, before Tony making quick work of him. But it turns out the Teen Abomination was trying to get his attention, but that didn't work out as Tony simply knocks him out. And with She-Hulk being annoyed that Tony himself wasn't there, it pans out and shows Tony was busy occupied at a pool party, enjoying himself living up the life of Tony Stark. But his little party and relaxation is interrupted by Pepper Potts, who knows Tony and sees something is up, that he's changed, and she wants to find out why. And after moving to a secluded part of the Stark facility they are in, one showcasing the crazy designs and inventions of his, she notices he is drinking again. And if you know anything about Tony Stark, he has a pretty bad track record with alcohol, with him saying he's drinking to make up from all the lost time and years of sobriety. And if Pepper didn't think anything was wrong then, she definitely does now. And then we see him with, in my opinion, one of the cooler armors and suits of Iron Man, the Indosim armor, which it is basically like having a Venom symbiote, but without it being organic or alive, purely technology, but it is able to respond to his every whim and thought. But with Pepper simply ignoring this suit, she says they need to talk about the Extremis app, saying, have you thought about the ramifications something like this could cause? And with Tony being the egomaniac he is now, or even more so, he simply brushes it off, saying, I transformed San Francisco into a paradise overnight. But with Pepper blowing up on him, saying, do you think this is a joke? Sure, you can be proud of transforming 1 million people into supermodels if you want, but what about the people without access to the app? You've basically created a master race across the city, but you've also created an instant underclass. As you see what she's talking about with a direct example, where we see these group of people walk up and start harassing this homeless woman because, in their words, they don't want people like her in their city. Stark has made all of them beautiful, but people like her has stayed behind as a hideous blemish. But out of nowhere, a billy club comes and knocks him aside the head, and it is none other than Daredevil, the man without fear, as he jumps in ready to protect this girl from these thugs. But just then, the man starts screaming in utter horror and fear, more fear than Daredevil put into him anyway, as he says no, something is wrong. As we move back over to Stark, as he continues to explain that there's nothing really to worry about. The city isn't going to stay like this. Balance will be restored. I won't make a lot of money giving away things for free, won't I? And I plan to make a lot of money. Before him and Pepper step outside to see everybody screaming in fear this time, with one blonde woman coming up to her saying it's gone, please help me. And as she looks down at a beeping phone, we see everywhere that the Extremis 3.0 app, all of it was a trial run, which means anybody who downloaded it and got access to its almost magically producing results are now reverted back. And now there is a $100 daily renewal fee, with Stark explaining, I just launched a new cornerstone of new Stark Enterprises. I only let them all feel perfection, and do you have any idea of what they'll do to get it back? Before gearing up fully and flying off, which in my opinion, I think the suit looks better with the little mask on versus his faceless template. Moving over to the next page, we see Pepper in a different location, sitting down in the chair and explaining. Tony always said his biggest fear wasn't the wrong people getting their hands on his weapons, or technology, or even his friends or lovers. No, it's something different, and the nightmare scenario has finally happened. His mind has been taken, which, call it ego if you want, but it's interesting seeing how Tony, who believes that he might be the smartest or one of the smartest people on the planet, biggest fear is his mind being taken over, because even he knows the destructive capabilities and devices and technology he can come up with. But moving over to the person she is actually talking to, we only really see their silhouette, which you can mistake it for Daredevil or even Batman without a cape. But she gets up explaining to them that we need to activate the contingency, with the mysterious person saying, "Understood, it's okay, Pepper, this is what we planned for," before it's revealed that it's an older model of an Ironman suit, which this will become really important later. But okay. Moving on, we see Daredevil stalking the streets of San Francisco, doing his nightly patrol, this time on the lookout for something specific, as he knows all about Tony in this Extremis app, saying he gave perfection to everyone by simply downloading it through an app. But then he tore it away just as easily, and those who couldn't afford it were desperate to get it back, and desperate people do desperate things. Which, if you think about it, the implications of this in real life would be absolutely insane. Like, imagine customizing your very being on the whim of an app, of just pressing a few buttons on your phone and having an Olympic level athletic body instantly for only $100 a day. Doesn't sound too shabby to me, but also at the same time, given the example we're about to see, in my opinion, I don't see how it could really lead to this. Maybe I'm just comfortable within my own skin, but being able to go to what I am now to perfection and then me being set back would suck, but it wouldn't be the end of the world or make me go out and do desperate things to get it back. But I don't know, that's just me. Let me know your opinion down below. Anyways, moving on, we see what Daredevil is looking at, and in the back alleyway, we see a kid with a gun trying to rob a woman of her purse. With Daredevil even monologuing, the kid's heart is beating so hard that I could probably hear it without my enhanced senses. He's more scared than the woman he is mugging. And before the kid is able to do anything with the gun, Daredevil swoops in using his billy club and yanks him away, saving the woman. But not before she is able to take a clear picture of his face, saying how she is internet famous, and this is going to be online in 30 seconds, and that his life is over, before walking away, leaving just him and Daredevil as he checks his gun to see that there's no bullets, and that the kid was only trying to intimidate the woman to take her belongings, so he can get more money for the app. And with Daredevil seeing this in this atrocities of crime being rampant through the city because of this fact, he thinks it's time that him and Tony discuss this new utopia he's trying to set up. So he then makes his way over to Stark Island, which was formerly Alcatraz. After showing up when there's a party going on, he threatens Tony, saying he has bad news. He is going to be shutting him down. In which we see after stepping up to Tony, Tony simply grabbing him by the throat, effortlessly saying, "You know, you're always welcome, but if you do, come back without the attitude," before chucking him off the side of the tower. In which you would think for someone as skilled and masterful in martial arts like Daredevil, he wouldn't be caught up as easily and disposed of like fodder by Tony Stark. But, you know, story has to go on. And in the next part, we see something super interesting that I never really thought about would be such a great weakness for Daredevil: water. Now, don't get me wrong, obviously water would be a weakness, at least submerged completely, for anybody, you know, that needs to breathe air. But for Daredevil specifically, it's even worse, because he even says himself how he hates the sea. It's one of the places where his radar sense is absolutely useless. Amplified sound with no direction, no sense of smell, and no sense of touch. Not only is he blind in the traditional sense, but now he has none of his extra abilities, making him ultra blind. And from the fall, he has no idea how deep he has fallen into the water, but being a man of pure focus and dedication, he is able to survive and make it out. And as he submerges, he says he can hear the party going back on. The excitement, the adrenaline, everything has increased. Confronting him at his own home was stupid and way too public, as he just gave Tony a chance to show off, which is the worst thing he could have done. And leaving Daredevil to try and rethink his strategy on confronting Tony next time. But moving over to the next day, Tony basically put together a event, if you will, a publicity stunt saying he's going to be distributing a 24-hour dose of Extremis for free to all smart devices within a 50-foot radius. And as you can tell, a lot of people showed up with their devices, which really just goes to show you the state of San Francisco and this app. But as he lands and tries to take in the glory, he gets confronted by one man who is seemingly displeased and even shares a little bit of hatred towards Tony, revealing that he has struggled with addiction all his life and that his son has escaped this curse of addiction. But then overnight, from one addiction to another, his son got addicted, but not to what traditionally people fall to. It was the Extremis app that Tony launched. And of course, with Ironman basically brushing this off, saying, I gave him a choice. Does no one read under the agreement before they click accept? And with that being the final straw for the father, he pulls out a gun, aiming it at Tony's seemingly exposed face, saying how he's a monster. And with again Tony being nonchalant, saying, please, you and I both know that you're not going to, before the father actually pulls the trigger, basically assassinating Tony in broad daylight, to everyone's shock and horror. And just like that, we're gonna leave it on this little cliffhanger. What do you think about the story so far? Even though this is only part 1 and there's definitely more issues to it and it gets pretty deeper, let me know your thoughts all down below. As always, thanks for watching, like if you enjoyed and even subscribe, and check out the video on screen, as if you like this one, you'll be sure to like the others. Thank you.